Welcome back. Today is day 4 of first son Hunter Biden's federal gun trial after being accused of purchasing firearms while using narcotics. Prosecutors say that they may rest their case today after hearing testimony from Hunter's ex-wife, his ex-girlfriend, and the man who sold him the guns. Yesterday, top House Republicans, including House Oversight Chairman James Comer, Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, and House Ways and Means Committee Chair Jason Smith, sent criminal referrals on Hunter Biden and James Biden to the Department of Justice, accusing them of lying to Congress during closed-door testimonies. I've spoken to these congressmen on this program about the Biden family issues now for months. Watch.
We gave both Jim Biden and Hunter Biden an opportunity to explain what they did to receive the money. They couldn't do it, Maria. So it's influence peddling is what it is.
This is the confusion that exists. Millions of dollars from foreign entities flowing through like 20-some different companies, going to all kinds of Bidens. And that, by the way, it's Hunter Biden and Jim Biden who owe money to all kinds of folks as well. So this whole access to the brand that Devin Archer talked about and others have talked about that I think is the central issue here.
Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Andrew Clyde, a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the House Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, and Science. Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Your reaction to these now criminal referrals being sent to the DOJ?
Well, good morning, Maria. Well, it's the right thing to do. I think these two committees, both Oversight and Judiciary, and, well, Ways and Means as well, they've forwarded these criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Why? Because we see actual crime here. People have lied. People have not told the truth to Congress, and you can't do that. When you speak to Congress, you do so under oath. And so these criminal referrals, I think, are important. And just remember, they don't die at the end of the 118th Congress. They still exist for a new administration. So I think we'll see justice here. It might be slow, but I think we'll see it. Really?
Manhattan prosecutors are opposing the request from Trump's defense team, meanwhile, who are trying to get the former president's gag order in place. They want it removed. But the judge wants it in place until his sentencing on July 11th. Axios is writing this. House Republicans are pressuring Speaker Mike Johnson for a vote on legislation aimed at showing their allegiance to former President Trump after his historic criminal conviction. Talk to us about this bill. It would reportedly allow a president to move any state case against them to federal court. Congressman, you posted on X that you've been fighting to defund the left lawfare for nearly a year. Tell us about it.
That's right. Starting August of last year, I began working on an amendment to defund the prosecution of a presidential candidate. We worked through the parliamentarian. We got those words in order for an amendment last year on an appropriations bill. Didn't get a vote on it, but you know what? We're going to do it again this year. It's the right thing to do because all of these agencies, all of these state agencies that are going against the president and the federal agency with Jack Smith, the Department of Justice, they all have federal money. And if we can defund the prosecution of a presidential candidate, then we can be effective in shutting that down. And that's what needs to happen. In the base bill of the CJS appropriation, we need that amendment, and Speaker Johnson can make it happen.
Well, look, your constituents obviously are talking this morning about what's going on with the appeals court there in Georgia. Georgia's appeals court temporarily halting Trump's 2020 election case in Fulton County on the heels of that appeal over Fani Willis and her relationship with Nathan Wade, her prosecutor. Your reaction to this situation? Obviously, we may not hear this trial until after the election.
Well, I think that's good news for the president. It's good news for America. It's good news for our justice system because finally we're seeing where a absolutely sham trial is being held to a greater spotlight here, and we can see that there's nothing there. And as a result, the appellate court is weighing in, and it's absolutely the right thing to delay this until every aspect of it is properly examined.
Meanwhile, we're looking at policy changes ahead of the election now. President Biden signing an executive order on the border this week. This action will temporarily shut down the border when encounters reach an average of 2,500 a day for 7 consecutive days. You posted on X. Reminder, the only acceptable number of illegal border crossings is 0. Here's former President Trump last night on Hannity talking about the border. Watch.
Here.
Millions of people are allowed to come in. It's meaningless. It's a joke. Everybody knows it. It has nothing to do with border security. And he didn't need anything from Congress. All he has to do is shut the border. You say, shut the border, sign an order, and the border will close. I did it. We had the best border, the safest border in history.
Congressman, what do you make of President Biden's border action? I mean, obviously, at the peak, we were talking about 8,000, 9,000 people a day. Now we're down to what, 6,000 or so. He's talking about shutting the border when it hits 2,500. Is this going to stop anybody from coming into America?
No, it's not. One person coming across the border illegally is too many people coming across the border. I mean, this just goes to show, to prove that President Biden does have the executive authority that he has claimed he hasn't had. You know, he blames it on Congress. It's not Congress's responsibility. President Biden did this. He did this with his own executive orders back as soon as he became president in 2021. So it just goes to show you that, again, he's not telling the American people the truth. The American people can see right through it. Yeah. And this new executive order is just absolutely useless.
Tricia, jump in here.
I mean, we've been talking about this for years now. There's been more than 10 million people who have illegally crossed the border. That is double the population of Colorado. That is the population of Michigan. And now...
Yeah, Trump thinks it's more than 15, 16 million, by the way. But you're right.
But
10 million is what we've been documenting.
Right, exactly, Maria. And we're 3 weeks out from a debate. This is a CYA moment for Biden. He's saying, I want to be able to be on the debate stage and say, I'm a tough guy. I'm cracking down on illegal immigration. You haven't been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what are you expecting from the debate, Congressman? I mean, since July, it's June 27th, a couple of weeks away, and this right after that story in the Journal yesterday. Behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping.
Well, I think the American people are going to see where President Biden's mental state actually is, because President Trump is not going to take any prisoners here in this debate. And I'm glad the debate is before this sham sentencing on July the 11th.
Okay. We will keep watching all of that. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much.